Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a thoughtful, funny, and surprisingly emotional conversation sparked by Justine Lupe's appearance on The Daily Show, where she discusses her role in Nobody Wants This. It's a segment that blends humor with genuine reflection, and as we walk through it, we'll explore the deeper themes she touches on, the insight she offers into her character, and why this project feels so personal and relevant right now. Her conversation carries a steady mix of wit, honesty, and warmth, and it opens a window into how storytelling helps us understand relationships, expectations, and the chaotic struggles of modern emotional life. Throughout this review, we'll cover what makes the interview memorable, how Justine breaks down her experience, and why the project has resonated with so many people. From the very beginning of the conversation, Justine radiates a mix of calm humor and candid vulnerability. She doesn't come off like someone simply promoting a show. Instead, she genuinely shares pieces of herself, and that sincerity makes the entire discussion compelling. The way she talks about Nobody Wants This shows that the story isn't just another performance for her. It reflects real human messiness, the kind of situations we all find ourselves in but rarely articulate out loud. She brings up the idea of wanting something but not knowing how to deal with the responsibility that comes with getting it. That sense of internal contradiction is something she portrays with remarkable subtlety on screen, and hearing her explain, it adds another layer to how we understand her work. Another standout moment is when she starts talking about the emotional weight of her character's journey. She explains how the story explores vulnerability, how we hide it, how we show it, and how we sometimes try to outrun it. In the interview, she approaches this topic with a mix of humor and grounded realism. She laughs at the absurdity of certain choices her character makes, yet she also acknowledges that these choices come from a place of fear or confusion that real people face. She talks about the challenge of playing someone who is flawed in ways that might frustrate viewers, but she emphasizes that those imperfections are what make the character human. Listening to her unpack these layers helps us appreciate the series more deeply, not just as entertainment, but as a mirror reflecting the awkward corners of emotional life. The conversation also drifts into the nature of expectations, both personal and societal. She discusses the pressure of feeling like you have to follow a certain script in life, whether it's relationships, career goals, or emotional milestones. She highlights how this pressure affects people her age and beyond. She mentions how these expectations often blur the line between what we genuinely want and what we think we're supposed to want. It's a subtle but important distinction, and she describes it in a way that feels relatable without becoming overly serious. Her sense of humor acts like a soft cushion around some very sharp truths, making the interview feel simultaneously light and thoughtful. One of the strongest parts of her appearance is the way she describes the creative process behind the show. She talks about working with a team that values honesty in storytelling. She explains how every scene is built around emotional truth rather than spectacle, and she highlights the collaborative effort that brought the vision to life. She shares how the writing felt raw and real, how the dialogue captured emotions that many of us struggle to express. She speaks about her castmates with genuine admiration, emphasizing how each person brought depth and nuance to their roles. Her description makes it clear that the show was crafted with intention and heart, and these details help us understand why the final product feels so authentic. She also reflects on comedy as a tool for dealing with uncomfortable topics. She notes that humor makes hard truths more digestible. In her words, comedy helps us acknowledge things we would otherwise avoid. She describes how certain moments in Nobody Wants This balance pain with levity, creating scenes that are both funny and emotionally sharp. This balance is intentional, and she shares how it helps the audience connect not only to the story, but to their own internal contradictions. Her perspective on comedy gives us a deeper appreciation for the craft behind each carefully written moment. Throughout the interview, she also touches on her personal connection to the themes of the show. She talks about learning to accept her own uncertainties and understanding that imperfection is part of being human. Her honesty feels refreshing. She admits to not having everything figured out, and she speaks openly about how performing in a project like this made her reflect on her own life. She shares how certain scenes forced her to confront emotions she didn't expect to feel. Instead of shying away from that discomfort, she talks about embracing it as part of the creative journey. Her openness adds depth to the entire conversation and lets the audience see her as not just an actress, but a person navigating the same emotional knots that her character faces. Another remarkable aspect is how she describes the show's exploration of relationships. She talks about the delicate balance between connection and independence, and the difficulty of figuring out what we really want from the people in our lives. She mentions how the show doesn't rely on clichés, but instead digs into the awkward, complicated, and sometimes contradictory nature of human bonding. She gives examples of moments that reveal how characters struggle to communicate, how they misread each other's intentions, and how they learn or fail to grow together. Hearing her discuss these relational dynamics helps illuminate why the show resonates so strongly with viewers. She also mentions how real-life conversations inspired certain moments in the story. She talks about listening to people share their experiences and reflecting on how universal many of these struggles are. She explains that the writing intentionally draws from real emotions and real mistakes, giving the show a lived-in feel. That sense of authenticity is something she clearly values. It's evident in the way she talks about the importance of representing emotions honestly rather than polishing them into something neat or unrealistic. As the interview continues, she opens up about the challenge of performing vulnerability without over-dramatizing it. She describes how she had to find a careful balance between emotional expression and restraint. She reflects on the importance of subtlety and how the smallest gestures can carry the largest emotional weight. She shares how she and the director worked to maintain a grounded tone, ensuring that every emotional moment felt natural rather than forced. Listening to her talk about this process gives us a window into the craft behind the performance and the level of thought she puts into each detail. She also talks about how audiences have responded to the show. She mentions receiving messages from people who connected deeply with the themes of uncertainty, heartbreak, and personal growth. She describes how meaningful it has been to hear that the story resonated with others. She reflects on the privilege of being part of a project that encourages open conversations about difficult emotions. Her gratitude feels genuine as she talks about how fulfilling it is to know that the show has touched people's lives. Toward the end of the interview, she reflects on what she hopes viewers take away from Nobody Wants This. She expresses her desire for people to feel seen in their own messy journeys. She wants viewers to understand that it's okay to feel lost or unsure, that it's normal to question yourself, and that growth often comes from uncomfortable places. Her message feels heartfelt, and it ties together the themes she has been discussing throughout the interview. Justine's appearance on The Daily Show is more than just a promotional moment. It becomes a thoughtful exploration of emotional honesty, creative vulnerability, and the complexity of human relationships. Her reflections are delivered with kindness and humor, making the conversation easy to relate to. She offers insight into her craft, her personal growth, and the collective experiences that shape us all. The interview leaves you with a deeper appreciation not just for the show, but for the emotional realities we all share. By the time the conversation wraps up, you feel like you've learned something, not just about the project, but about the subtle, complicated nature of wanting, not wanting, and figuring out what it means to be human. Justine's warmth, intelligence, and perspective make the interview memorable, and her thoughtful approach to storytelling reminds us why actors and creators play such an important role in reflecting and understanding our inner lives. Her appearance turns a simple interview into a meaningful moment of connection, humor, and introspection. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to stick around on the channel for more deep dive reviews, commentary, and thoughtful discussions.